Okay, so hello everyone. Short demo on what to do with the no-code Node-RED platform and the SOLIDserver. So it's a good way to test APIs and to play with APIs without writing a lot of code. So let's first start a Node-RED environment. So I decided to do that with a simple container. It's going to be a raw install then of Node-RED, and then from that point everything is performed directly from a browser. So here it's version 3.1 of Node-RED. Node-RED is a good way to play with some objects. Short demo, a trigger that will create a message with the timestamp in it, and then a debug that will display the content of the message payload in the debug window. The debug window is this one. So here you have to select the debug messages. If I do connect those two boxes and deploy this code, if I do a trigger on this, I've got the timestamp message printed by the debug1 node. Okay, principle is very simple. So what we propose to do is adding new object within this default palette. And for that, you just have to install in the palette management the library from EfficientIP and install it. It's gonna take some few seconds, 20 seconds maybe. And then you will have two new nodes available within the palette. In the EfficientIP category, you have something to manage what's called the endpoint. So the endpoint is where to talk to my SOLIDserver. I will put here the URL that I'm using to get on the admin panel, plus a user and password. And potentially I will trust the TLS certificate provided. Once you have one element like that configured on a flow is the content of all this tab, then you can use some API object. And an API object is it's just something called by its name. So you have here all the API calls. For example, in the IPAM section, everything around the space, the IP, the networks, the pools, and we also have the DNS, zone and record, list info and count. So each time you want to perform an API call, you add such object. Quite easy, but we have some examples to show you that you can load directly through the import examples. Then you select the Node-RED EfficientIP library and you select the demo module. It will automatically load some flows. So those flows are here to manage spaces. Example on the network pools, IPAM IP address, DNS zone and DNS records. And all the examples are roughly built the same way. You have, because it's a flow, you have a connection to set. Let's put mine here. I'm gonna trust my certificate. I'm gonna deploy this. So now it's operational. So that's the connection box. We have an error triggering box that will catch everything that goes wrong. And then for each scenario or group of scenario, you have always a trigger, a button trigger that you can press to start the scenario. So in this case, we would like to have the number of spaces we have within our IPAM. So let's have a look to the IPAM. That's my spaces. We get 2, 4, 6, 7 spaces, meaning that normally the result of this space count will be 7. If I do press this button, it will launch an IPAM space count API call. If it goes wrong, I will use the error output, and then I will send the message to the error block. If it works well, I'm gonna manipulate the message out from the API and get the count out of the message and put that back as a payload of my message. And then using this debug box, I will just output the payload on my debug window. So exactly what we've done previously. So let's have a look to the debug, clean that. If I trigger this, I've got as an answer in my message the 7 as the number of spaces. If we want to do things a bit more complex, like list some spaces or get more information on a specific space, it's the same, but we can add some filtering within the message. So same principle. Here I want to get some space, just a push button. I'm gonna add some limits and options to my call. So the space list is accepting a limit number, so no more than 3 spaces will be provided. And if those metadata or class parameters are available on the space, I would like to have those in my message. Then I do the call. If I have an error, I go to the error block. If I got a result, it's going to be an array. I'm going to use the split function, which is a standard function of Node-RED, to transform the array one by one and split it in multiple messages. So I will have up to 3 messages. That's my limit. And for each messages, I will manipulate a bit my results. So what I'm going to do here is getting the space name from the output of the API and put that in a name variable. Same for the ID and the description. And for the rest, I'm going to keep all the information, but those one that's going to be deleted. So typically I'm going to delete my where clause, the limit that was set to 3 here, the result of the API success, and then I'm going to show that in the output. So let's have a look to the output. Ask for this list. So here I've got 3 messages. They are all they all have the same kind of information. I have name, ID, and description that are at the top of the message, easy to use. And I still have the payload. So if I got if I need some more information, I have here all the information that are coming out of the API. And I have that for the 3 messages. So that's exactly how we can play with Node-RED and the spaces. So you can do the same with networks. Here you have examples for networks IPv4 or v6 for list and info and count. Same kind of thing. Because it's a new flow, I've got my connection profile here. Same for the pools, IPv4, IPv6. For the IP address, it's a bit more rich because we have, in addition to the list info for v4 and v6 addresses, we have also things that allows us to add an IP address, edit an IP address, and delete an IP address. So that's the same same way of preparing the message. For example, the IP add push button. I'm gonna set some information. So here I'm gonna set directly an IP address, the name of the IP address, a MAC address, the address name, and some class parameters in my IPAM. If things goes back through the error, I will go to my error box, and if things goes wrong, okay, I will simply as a success message put the address ID out of the payload on the debug window. So got my configuration, it's deployed, and let's play with this guy. Create an IP address. Let's go. IP address has been created. I've got an ID, meaning I've gone through this path, success path. So let's have a look in my SOLIDserver. So it's in the test, the Node-RED test, and the NR01. This is the guy we just created. So we have the IP address, the name, the MAC address, and the class params. There were color and which one do we have? Color and here color, only color that has been set to red, and effectively we have color as red. So that's for the creation. We can also have a change, so that's an edit. Yeah, it's a bit different because we have so what do we change here? We change the MAC address, we change the name, and we change the color within the metadata. So let's do this one. For sure we have the same OID, and what does it change here? So the MAC address has changed, and the color has changed, and the name has changed. So you see how it works, and then we can delete it. Same thing. So to delete it, okay, I've just made it, but we have back the OID, and within the IPAM, for sure, it has been deleted. And the last one is a more complex workflow, but trigger. I want to use this pool ID. So we can imagine here we get the pool ID from a list call on the pool. I want to get no more than 5 free IP addresses from the IPAM IPv4 find free call. If things goes wrong, I will go to the error box. If it goes, if the call is successful, we check if we have or not some results. No result, we go to the error box. Some results, we shuffle. So here we have pure JavaScript to shuffle the result, and then it will pick one out of up to 5 IP address. I do prepare my next call by cleaning up the message, suppressing things, adding some other one, and then I do the IPv4 add, so the same as this one. So if I do that, let's clean. If I do that, it has created an IP address. Trust me or not. it's gonna be within this pool. Yeah, this one, which one? I don't know if it's this one or this one. Let's redo it. Let's clean those guys. Okay, the pool is empty. Back to Node-RED. Call it successful. Refresh. Here we are. This one has been created just now, the 24. So you see the idea of these workflows. It's not really complex now to build some demos. The last one are for the zones, count, list, info, and for the records, count, list, and info. Exactly the same kind of thing. I hope you enjoy that. Don't hesitate to make some tests and give me some feedback. And nice prototyping and demoing. Bye bye.